Good morning, children. Till yesterday, we have been studying about nature and significance of management. How important is management in an organization? Okay, but every management in an organization doesn't just like that go with the workforce or with the work, functions of management. Management has certain principles to follow. If you take the first page in your textbook of this lesson, you go through a company called Toyota Motors. Toyota Motors is whose company it is actually Japan. They give respect to the cultures and languages of different nations. What is the reason behind this cultures and languages? Why should they respect? It is nothing but to expand their business. That is also one of the principles for them which they have adopted. It is not just, you cannot be rigid in this sector when you are into the business that you want to stick to only one country. They want to grow globally. That is why they have adopted a culture, respecting other cultures and languages of other nations also, so that their business was expanded. If you go through the first page of your lesson, this Toyota Motors case you can easily read, children. Why this is happening in Toyota Motors? In every company it happens. Every company has its own principles. What are then principles? Principles are managerial principles, especially they are broad and general guidelines for decision making and behavior of employees. Generally, if you leave people just like that to their own behaviors, there will be chaos. Actually, in your nature and significance also we have studied that. So there should be a principle for the entire organization to achieve the objective. What is this principle? It is a broad and general guideline. To everybody it applies in the organization, right from the top level to the operational level management, in the three sectors. Then the hierarchy I am talking, it applies. It is a broad and general guideline given to all the employees that they should follow certain principle. In decision making and behavior, decision making, the principles are reflected. When the top level management is taking any decision, it is related to the principle that is adopted by the management at the beginning of the organization. That is what is managerial principle. Then some people, everybody need not stick to one particular principle and be rigid. Some managers in any organization, they go with a principle of seniority. Based on the seniority, they go with the promotions. In some organizations, people go with performance or merit. They give some departmental tests they take, and depending upon that, they promote the employees to the higher levels. It doesn't mean that, this is called decision making. They stick to this, where we have to, whether we should look into seniority or we should look into merit. It all depends on the managers and where they are taking the decision making. And these are the managerial principles. It is applied to all levels of management. Some people have, that is why here we should understand that when they are taking decisions depending upon the behaviors of people, we should know that it is not that equal to pure science. Generally, people always say that or have a confusion regarding principles as well as pure principles of management as well as pure science. Is it equal to pure science? No. Principles of management are not as rigid as your pure science. Suppose in a physics experiment or chemistry experiment, you have a particular formula for certain things. Today, if you take coronavirus, why they are unable to find any vaccine? Because there is no particular formula for removing this vaccine. For removing this corona disease. Therefore, management principle is not rigid like your pure science. They have certain formula. If you apply that formula, then only you can achieve the result. Here, it is all based on the human behavior. Depending upon the human behavior, the management principles change. It may be from place to place. It may be, from country to country. Maybe from time to time also. Now you see the principle. What is our principle? Generally, we go to office and work. Now principle is changed. We are sitting at homes and working. because it is the situation. It is the situation, it is demanding us to work from home. Every organization for that matter. Now you see, in America, if it is morning, for us it is night. We have to work from home when we are in American company. It is a must. Therefore, principles of management are not as rigid as pure science. They are very flexible and they deal, because they are dealing with human behavior everywhere, they have to change. That is why in our significance, nature and significance of management, we said management is dynamic in nature. So principles are also dynamic in nature. We should understand that principles are also dynamic in nature. Now, principles of management should be distinguished from techniques of management. Sometimes what principles management should have and what principles are not also. These are not, techniques are not principles, that we should understand. Technique is a process or an action taken by management sometimes. See, these are the procedures. These are the procedures sometimes followed by managements in order to achieve the temporary objectives. In order to achieve the temporary objectives of the company or the organization. Understood? Human behavior and technology both are ever changing here, as I told you. So principles are not pure science. They are dependent on human behavior as well as technology. Technology is again different. With the changing technologies, you have to change the principles also. Therefore, here when we are talking about the techniques, principles are different from techniques. Techniques are, they are the procedures which are involving the series of steps taken to accomplish desired goals. Technique is to a particular situation. We have to use one technique to achieve a desired result or goal, then it will not be a principle. It is not a principle. Principle is at the time of decision making or for framing policies of the organization and all. Technique is at that particular situation, what technique if I use, I will get the desired result I will see. So technique is totally different from that of principles of management. Here, principles of management also are not rigid, but they are changing according to human behavior and technology. But at the same time, the principles are not equal to techniques. Techniques are totally different from the principles of management. And principles also should be distinguished from values. Values are something acceptable or desirable. You cannot ignore values when you are framing the principles. Principles of management can be framed. Because I am an international organization, I don't have a principle of asking the people to work 24 hours. I cannot keep that principle with me because I have to keep some values into consideration. They have families. They should enjoy with their families also. After all, what for we are all working? We are all working for the sake of carrying our lives. We have to live happily. In order to do that, I keep a principle of 8 hours work, but not 24 hours work. 24/7 is, of course, organization works 24/7, but employees will not work 24/7. There are shift systems. Today, why the government has brought that the police officials or doctors, whoever are there, they should work in shift, they said. Why? Because it is value. They should give to the life. So when framing the principles of management, you cannot ignore values because they are acceptable in society and they are coming with the human existence itself. Next, principles are basic truths or guidelines for behavior. They are the basic truths for guidelines for your behavior. But principle is only to make you disciplined, that's all. If already you are disciplined, you are self-principled, this principle is not a big thing for you. Why principles are generally, framed by the companies or organization? Because various kinds of people are coming and working in the organization. For all of them to carry a common objective which has to be achieved by the organization, principle has has to be framed or policy has to be framed. Then only they can get the desired results or they can achieve desired goals. That is why principles are their basic truths or guidelines for your behavior. If you are not behaving properly, if you don't have self-respect, self-discipline, then definitely the organization's principles will work. Therefore, principles of management are formed only after research. They are formed only after the research. Here, research means what? First of all, we should know what kind of people are coming and joining in the organization. The organization checks. It has its own general principles sometimes, but based on the behavior and the technology that is coming up every now and then, they have to have certain principles which are matching to them. At the same time, without ignoring the values as well as the techniques. Technique also is a part of principle, but it is not a principle. While following the principles, we use some techniques to get the desired goals. At the same time, values are not being ignored by the management while framing the principles of management. Now, tomorrow when we are taking another class, I will be talking about the nature. What is the nature of principles of management? They have universal applicability, general guidelines, and they are formed by practice and experiment. As I told you, they are framed only after research. They are framed only after research. Thank you, children.